Hello and welcome to an earlier Granada report, live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello there on the programme this evening.
The perfect storm. Patients line the corridors at Bolton Hospital, where we've been given exclusive access to an A&E department under enormous strain as the flu season kicks in.
Nearly every element of the system and all of our system partners, to a certain extent, are currently feeling extreme pressures.
We're live in Chester, where the jury in the trial of Manchester City footballer Benjamin Mendy has retired to consider its verdicts.
As Liverpool's Jordan Henderson secured his place in the quarter-finals after scoring in last night's England game.
Do you like me dress? It's pretty and tight. I hope I don't melt underneath this light.
Soap star and ice dancing champion Hayley Tamerden on why she's flying home for Christmas.
And in the weather, we'll be keeping a beady eye on our temperatures this week as they fall away, and we expect widespread night frost. All the details coming up.
Well, first tonight, one of our region's biggest hospitals, the Royal Bolton, is warning that it's under extreme pressure, with large numbers of seriously ill people coming through its doors and patients being cared for in corridors.
Last week, across the country, there was a dramatic rise in the number of people admitted to hospital with flu or norovirus, and the number of beds taken up by patients fit to be discharged is 25% higher than the start of December last year.
Our reporter Claire Hannah was given exclusive access to the Accident and Emergency Department in Bolton and sent this report.
This is the corridor in the A&E department at the Royal Bolton Hospital. On every single one of these trolleys is a patient.
And it's not something we want to do, but we've only got a finite amount of space within the department. It shouldn't happen, but what we've got to do is utilise all of the space within the emergency department to prioritise the cases that most need the appropriate care. And we have a time limit as well on the amount of time patients will be on a corridor.
What is that limit?
So we aim for no more than an hour of having a patient on a corridor, and as I say, those will be the most stable patients who are moving off to a ward, and it's where a bed is about to become available.
But beds on wards are in short supply. This screen shows what is available and what isn't.
So, for example, here at the moment we have no beds on our medical assessment unit, there's no beds available on the wider wards, but we do have 9 definite discharges coming up.
It's graded like traffic lights, but black shows the worst it can be.
So that's the children's ward?
Those are the children's
So
wards.
that black status, what does that mean?
So at the moment there are no beds on our children's ward, but our consultants and our nursing teams will be out on the ward now looking at how they can discharge patients safely.
And it does change throughout the day as beds are freed up.
A bit like a big jigsaw puzzle, moving patients around to get everyone in the right place and the bed that they need to be into, or back home.
The hospital is very keen to stress it would never turn a child away or any patient. It also says higher attendances are expected because some winter pressures have come early.
Nearly every element of the system and all of our system partners, to a certain extent, are currently feeling extreme pressures. We have issues within social care, so we have patients stuck in hospital we can't discharge. And then we're seeing a lot of really unwell patients who may not have had access to healthcare over the last 3 years. On the backdrop of all of this, we're seeing now recently quite a big surge in flu cases.
There's also a big after effect of COVID.
Here in Bolton, we've got 39,000 people on a waiting list waiting to come in for treatment or investigations or an operation. That didn't exist before COVID, and that puts additional pressure on the hospital more broadly.
What we saw at the Royal Bolton Hospital was staff working hard to make sure people are seen when they need it the most.
I'll sit here as long as it takes, because they're all fantastic.
But while they are looking after us, who's looking after them?
We have a raft of stuff for our staff in terms of well-being. We've asked so much from staff throughout the pandemic, and we continue to do that. And it's just important to get that message out to them, to just say thank you, really.
It's no secret the NHS is under massive strain, with hospitals everywhere feeling the pressure. Strikes are looming too, and we are almost into winter. The message from A&E though is as long as patients need their help, they will continue to provide it.
The public also need to think twice before they come to emergency departments and think about where their care can best be delivered. We will see everybody, but those patients who don't necessarily need to access our department may unfortunately wait much longer than either us or they want to.
Claire Hannah, ITV News, Bolton.
Well, you can clearly see there that the impact that increasing numbers of patients are having on our hospitals. And one of the factors mentioned in Claire's report was, of course, a rising number of people being admitted with flu. Well, we're joined now by Dr Helen Wall, who's Clinical Director for Population Health for Greater Manchester and also a GP in Bolton. Helen, thank you so much for joining us. Flu season is well and truly here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's come back with a vengeance. You know, we see flu year on year, but the last couple of years we've really had less circulating flu virus than we have, you know, probably with the restrictions we've had with COVID. We've had masking, we've had hand washing, we've had social distancing, so we've seen much less flu. It's back with a vengeance this year. The flu rates are really up, and you know, for this week compared to this time last year, I believe nationally the number of people in hospital is 10 times what it was this week last year. So a massive increase in those people in hospital with flu.
That's an incredible increase, isn't it? And are enough people getting their flu vaccine jabs?
Well, I mean, we can always do better with any vaccine programme, and what we've seen this year is very replicable from previous years. So we've seen that the elderly have come forward quite quickly and got their flu jab, so you know, 75% of our elderly population. But as we go down those ages, and anybody, you don't have to just be over 50 to have a flu vaccine. It could be anybody less than 50 who's got long-term health conditions. So those people with diabetes, asthma, epilepsy, they're all eligible as well. And we see that they're not as quick at coming forward for the flu vaccine. And also our pregnant women, they're eligible. We've only got about 28% of our Greater Manchester population vaccinated for flu of our pregnant women. And our children as well is much lower than previous years. So our 2 to 3 year olds, we've got, you know, probably only a third of them vaccinated with the nasal flu spray. So our rates of children going into hospital is much higher as well this year with flu.
And Helen, just remind our viewers of what symptoms they should be looking out for, because it's probably fair to say that there are a lot of bugs around at the moment.
Yeah. It's a minefield of bugs at the minute, isn't it? Every time you switch the news on, you see a different infection that's coming to the fore. So, you know, most of these are respiratory viruses, and respiratory viruses all tend to follow a similar pattern. So particularly children, but also adults can start off a bit snotty, which we know all children can be. And then it might go on the chest and they might feel a bit wheezy or a bit chesty. But the more generalised symptoms are things like muscle aches and pains, fever, feeling really tired and weary. You know, genuine flu is hard to get out of bed with. You know, people say they've got flu when actually it's probably more like a cold. But you know, we've got a triple whammy here. We've got flu rising, we've got COVID still with us, and we've got our A&E departments all over really still under great pressure anyway. We haven't seen for the last couple of years that winter high and summer low, you know, where we get a bit of a reprieve in summer. The pressures have been all across the year on year.
And there are quite a few illnesses associated with children at the moment, RSV and strep A infection. Your advice of viewers who may be concerned about those particular bugs this evening?
Yeah, so RSV is the virus which causes bronchiolitis, which a lot of babies end up in hospital with, and some needing oxygen. It's much more common in babies to young children. And of course, we've seen a lot in the media over the last couple of days to a week about this strep A bacteria. Both of those are very common infections, including the strep A. We see that very commonly. You know, it causes sore throats. It's the bacteria that causes tonsillitis, causes skin infections. But what's happening right now is we're seeing a higher number of children developing what we call invasive group A streptococcus, which is, you know, more worrying because that means the group B strep, which normally resides in everybody's throat and skin, doesn't often cause much of a problem, is going into the bloodstream, into the muscles, into the lungs where it shouldn't be. So I think we have to keep that a little bit in perspective, because it's it's extremely sad what's happening. It's really quite worrying for parents. I get that. But, you know, many of the children that get Group B strep will have self-limiting mild illnesses.
OK, good to know, good to hear. OK, Dr Helen Wall, thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if you head to our website, you can find a blog there from our planning editor. Rachel spent more than 60 hours in A&E with her baby son last week because there wasn't a single bed available for him in the entire country. Read her story at itv.com/Granada.
Yeah, it's quite an incredible story. They were told the nearest bed for her little boy was in Berlin, which is just incredible. Get well soon, George.
Yeah. Next this evening, and the jury in the trial of footballer Benjamin Mendy have been sent out to consider their verdicts.
Yeah, the French defender, who's been suspended by Manchester City since September last year, denies 7 counts of rape against 4 women.
Let's go live now to Chester Crown Court, where our reporter Emma Sweeney has been following the case. Emma.
Well, Judge Stephen Everett told the jury there is no pressure of time as they retire to consider their verdicts here this afternoon. They've been listening to the evidence in this case for almost 5 months. Now, the prosecution alleged footballer Benjamin Mendy was a sexual predator of young women who were sexually assaulted or raped at his home in Cheshire. In total, he's accused of 7 counts of rape, 1 count of attempted rape and 1 count of sexual assault against 6 young women. Now, his co-defendant is a man called Louis Saha Machori. He's alleged to be Mendy's friend and so-called fixer, the one who got women to attend parties. He's accused of 6 counts of rape and 3 counts of sexual assault against 7 young women. Both men deny all the charges.
Emma, thank you. In other news, and almost £14,000 has been raised for the family of a girl who's in hospital in Liverpool with a strep A infection. 4-year-old Camilla Rose Burns from Bolton has been treated at Alder Hey. 7 children have died from the infection across the UK. She's now said to be in a stable condition.
The new MP for the City of Chester has officially taken her seat in Parliament.
I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles, his heirs and successors, according to law.
Labour's Samantha Dixon won the by-election held in the city on Thursday, which was called after the resignation of the former MP Christian Matheson. The former council leader won with an increased majority for her party and 61% of the votes. She says she wants to be a voice for the city and Westminster on issues like the cost of living. Right, well, next tonight, the community cinema in Liverpool that's been brought back to life 91 years after it first opened.
Yeah, the Lighthouse in Anfield started showing classic films back in the 1930s when it was the Gaumont Cinema. After a world-first civic crowdfunding campaign, it's been carefully restored and welcomed its first audience at the weekend.
And it may lie in the shadow of the area's more famous venue, but as Paul Crone reports, it's set to become the very heart of the community.
You know you've got stiff competition for entertainment when you're just a goal kick away from Liverpool's stadium at Anfield. But once the venue for one of the hundreds of famous Gaumont cinemas dotted across the country, which has lain neglected for decades, the Liverpool Lighthouse is fighting fit to get top billing in the area once more. Inside, a splendid new cinema is now open to the whole of the community.
There's been a lack of places for people to connect, to be together, to be social. But also there's quite a lot of elders in the community who remember it from being in the cinema. And they want to be able to come and to feel connected with the community. They also want to dress up.
The Gaumont Palace was the place to come in the 1930s, 40s and 50s. The great stars of the silver screen were always a popular attraction at the Gaumont in Anfield. A regular patron was 89-year-old Mildred Jones, who would join long queues just to see the latest releases.
It was very important because it was a nice house for people and it was very cheap in those days. It was only about fourpence to go in, the old fourpence. The atmosphere is totally different in the cinema. Because we always liked the cinema and the theatre.
And Mildred was among the guests at the cinema's grand reopening held at the weekend.
We've had COVID where people were just locked in at home, but now with the cinema they'll be able to come out and get together and just laugh and just feel that, you know, that unity again.
Liverpool Lighthouse is a registered charity working to create thriving communities of people living more fulfilled lives. Hot meals, a place to meet and regular workshops make it so much more than just a local cinema. The plan is that films will be shown here at the Liverpool Lighthouse several times a month, and up until January it won't cost you a penny to watch them.
Especially now, when things are so tight and difficult, that it's a really affordable and gorgeous thing for people to be able to laugh and to come and have a positive experience together.
And far from it being the end for Liverpool Lighthouse, you might just say it's the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Paul Crone, ITV News, Liverpool.
Next, she's been a soap star on screen and a champion on the ice. And now Hayley Tamidon is gliding back to her hometown to sprinkle some seasonal magic.
Yeah, she's starring in Panto in Blackpool for the first time alongside Britain's Got Talent Steve Royal. It'll be his 1000th Panto. Wowzers. Our entertainment correspondent Caroline Whitmore has been to see them in rehearsal.
I said hello, everybody.
Look at you. You look incredible.
Thank you. Am I twinkling?
You are twinkling just a little bit. We know you from Coronation Street, from Emmerdale, from winning Dancing on Ice. Obviously, your partner then, Dan Whiston, who was also from Blackpool.
Yeah.
I was like, surely you've done a pantomime in Blackpool.
I'm almost about to turn 46 and I've never done a pantomime in my hometown of Blackpool until now. At the Grand Theatre, which is, you know, this theatre is so special to me because when I was a little girl, I used to do all of the theatre shows, the Blackpool theatre shows on this stage. And then in my professional career, I did Rocky Horror Show. That came here. And now I'm back doing my first ever panto. Now I'm a mum, so my little Jasper is going to be here numerous times. And he's so excited. Every poster he sees around Blackpool, he's like, that's my mummy.
Oh, bless him.
I know. But I'm an old mum. I'm 46 soon. And he keeps me on my toes, let's put it that way. I feel like I've not slept for the past 3 years. Give you the gift of slumber.
The gift of slumber? I'd love a bit of gift. I'd look at a few mums and dads out there who'd love a bit of slumber, wouldn't you? Hey, just 5 minutes, peace.
Including me.
Including you, yeah, absolutely.
You're part of the furniture here at the Blackpool Grand. 19 consecutive years.
Yeah, I know, it's shocking, isn't it? I'm doing my 1000th pantomime this year.
I can't believe
1000th
that.
pantomime. But where else would you want to do it? I love Blackpool, I love everything about the place.
Did you count the shows you've done then? Have you got your toes out and everything going?
We had a lockdown. I had a lot of time on my hands. And I thought, well, how best to spend it? By going through all my old panto leaflets and adding up how many I've done.
And this year, obviously, cost of living, it's a tricky year.
It is, we tried to do our best. We've got a magic and sparkle offer, so people who buy a ticket can pay an extra £10 and that ticket gets donated to charity or a family in need who can come to the pantomime. We try to make it as accessible as possible to all people.
Excuse me.
Yes.
We do have a show to do. All right, Steve. And the thing is, Sleeping Beauty will be awake by the time you finish chatting. So come on, let's fly.
Well, yeah, go on then. You fly.
All right, I'll fly.
I can't fly. Whoa!
We could do one of those harnesses for you, couldn't we? When you'd be misbehaving, we could send you up into the stratosphere in the studio. Emma's got the weather.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there, I do hope your day is going well. It was a bit of a frosty start this morning for our Teddy and Steve Mulville out on their walkies. Not as cold as it's going to be, though, over the next few nights, turning noticeably chillier from midweek onwards with widespread frosts by night as temperatures plunge below freezing. And it's all down to a bit of a change in wind direction. At the moment, we've got an east-northeasterly, but it changes to become more northerly as soon as tomorrow, actually. High pressure dominating up to the north of the UK and influencing all parts. And you could see these blue colours, cool hues infiltrating the whole of the British Isles. So a widespread frost, not just for our part of the world, but also for the whole of the country. Rewinding to the next few hours, it will be chilly overnight tonight, largely dry as well, as you can see. This includes the Isle of Man. A patchy rural frost developing and temperatures will be on the cool side. Here is sunrise and sunset times for tomorrow. A nippy start to the day tomorrow. 8:12 the sun is up, sets at about 10 to 4 in the afternoon. And so we're expecting some of this this frost to linger in places for quite a lot of the day, but there'll be more sunshine tomorrow with more of a northerly airflow. That means less cloud, more sunshine, drier air, and so a brighter day. Temperatures similar to today's values, but still a little bit of a breeze going, maybe a little bit gusty over higher ground, but on the cool side. We had that wind chill factor today. But after that, it remains mostly dry with some sunny spells, as you can see by day. Light and variable winds at times, but generally coming from the north, and by night extremely cold as temperatures fall even further. So widespread frost for both Wednesday night and also Thursday night. Bye-bye.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Emma, thank you. That is it from us for now. We are back at the same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Good night.